This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome back to Women's Wealth Wednesday with Foster Financial. And today I'm speaking with their Vice President, Caleb Doane, to get some really great financial advice. Hello, Caleb.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. Okay, so Wealth Wednesday is all about providing this holistic financial advice for women, but anyone can really use it. So today we're going to talk about Social Security, and this is a popular hot topic because people are really curious about it. So talk to me about what you will share today.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about a lot of different topics within Social Security. I wanted to spend some time talking about kind of the factors to consider when one spouse is retired and the other spouse is still working, and the retired spouse is considering turning on Social Security.
Okay.
And, you know, I wanted to talk about this on Women's Wealth Wednesday just because, on average, women retire a little bit earlier than men. And so there's often this situation where maybe a wife has retired and her husband is still working for a couple more years. Of course, she's going through this decision process of should I turn on Social Security or not? And there are a lot of factors to consider. And oftentimes people might just make that decision because they're like, hey, my neighbor across the street turned it on when she retired, and so I want to do the same thing.
Right.
We can put a little bit more thought behind it and customize that to the individual person.
That's so fascinating. I thought you were literally going to say that men retire first because typically they're a little bit older than their spouse. Okay, so if a woman wants to retire and the man is still working, what should they consider first?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors to consider. Probably the biggest one is actually your health. And you don't really think about this with Social Security, but a lot of people know when you delay Social Security, your benefit goes up when you eventually turn it on. So there's a little bit of benefit to delaying Social Security, but there's also a cost to that. You know, you just gave up turning on Social Security benefits early in order to delay it. So for the sake of really simple math, let's say the IRS says, hey, at 62 years old, we would give you $1,000 a month to turn on Social Security, but if you delay it to 67, 5 years, we'll give you $1,500 per month when you turn it on. Now, if you delay it, you just gave up 5 years of benefits at $1,000 a month.
Right.
You gave up $60,000 in order to delay it 5 years, and then you get an additional $500 per month or $6,000 per year. So once you turn it on, if you have delayed it, you now need to collect benefits for 10 years in order to make up for all those benefits that you had missed out on from 62 to 67. And so the reason why health is a big factor is because if somebody has a complicated health history, we don't always know if they're going to make it to that break-even age. And so we might just want to turn it on early and start collecting some of those benefits. And so that's one of the big factors that we consider there.
That is so fascinating. I wouldn't think it would have taken that long to make it up.
Right.
Like to make up those 5 years, you have to do 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a simplified kind of analysis. For most people, it's actually even a little bit later. You need to live past maybe 78 to 80 years old in order for that delay to be worth it. So we'll ask somebody about their health history. We'll ask if their parents are still living, when their parents passed away, if they're deceased, and we'll help that kind of influence the decision. Another one might be just their income needs. So maybe if the wife stopped working and the husband is still working, maybe the income that's coming in from the husband just isn't enough to sustain their basic living style. And so we might need to turn on Social Security in that scenario. Another thing to consider is your tax brackets, right? So someone, if the husband is still working, you might be in the 22% tax bracket. Once he retires, maybe you'll be in the 12% tax bracket. And so we want to think about, if you turn it on early, you're getting a slightly lower benefit, and you also might be getting charged a higher tax rate than if you delay it. You get a higher benefit, and then maybe you're in a lower tax bracket. So there's a ton of different considerations that we look at, and everyone's inputs to those are a little different.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Really, when you break it down like that, it makes sense because it really has to be personalized for each person's journey, where they're at. And then a lot of times we're seeing people are delaying their retirement, unfortunately, because inflation and the cost of living is just so high that those benefits alone does not sustain.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Social Security is typically not sufficient for people in retirement. And so we look at a lot of those factors. Maybe the last one that we consider too is With two spouses, if one of them were to pass away, the higher of the two benefits is retained, right? So if a husband has a higher benefit and he passes away, the wife gets his benefit and she loses hers. And so if it makes sense to delay one of those two benefits, it's oftentimes the higher benefit that it makes sense to delay, because that's the one that's going to survive both of you guys over the course of retirement. So there's a ton of different things to consider. It's not a straightforward answer for everyone. But it's part of our financial planning process.
One question that I have is, does everyone get the same amount of Social Security? Or does the Social Security depend on how much you've put in over the years? It's
based on your payments over the years. So they look at, I think, like the highest 40 quarters, I want to say. They've changed the calculation a little bit, but they look at your income over that period of time, and there's a certain calculation that they have. So you're putting in, I mean, to Social Security, I want to say it's 6.2% of your paycheck goes into Social Security, and then your employer puts another 6.2% in as well. You don't want to look into, hey, what if that would have just been invested in the stock market over the entire career of me working, because it would have been way better than what you're getting in Social Security. But it's based on, what you've put into the Social Security system.
And then, is there a max of a Social Security benefit payout?
There is, yeah. So your Social Security taxes actually drop off once you hit a certain income level. So for 2026, they increase it every year with inflation. It's right around $180,000. So the first 180 grand that you make, you're paying that 6.2%. After that, you're no longer paying that. So your benefit has kind of capped out, so then they no longer charge you those payroll taxes.
That's if that's an annual salary?
Yeah, that's if you're annual. So if you make $400,000 a year, the first $180,000 roughly is what you're going to pay the FICA taxes on. Or specifically Social Security. Medicare continues on after that. They've also talked about getting rid of that threshold so that you'd still have to continue paying in. So we'll see. But
because they're saying that, so that's the max that you have to pay, but is there a max, to your knowledge, of a Social Security payout that one would receive?
Yeah. They will be, even if you made $400,000 that year, they're going to say, nope, we're going to calculate your income as if it was just the max of what we're actually charging you to put in. So, I mean, this year, I'd have to check on the numbers, but, the max Social Security that somebody would get at their full retirement age is like 45 grand or something like that.
That's what I was
because
wondering.
It's just based on the highest that they're going to actually charge you to put into it.
Whew. Well, that was fascinating and very informative.
Yeah, there we go. Social Security is a complicated topic, so we always try to break it down.
It's layered, yeah. All right, well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you would like more information about Foster Financial, then we'll have their website and their phone number listed below. If this conversation helped you, then you can share this article with a friend. And I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.